inside for Albert. Albert will get the score. Fiddler, his farewell. He tapped into a legend and probably rugby league immortality. That's not a try, that's a miracle.
G'day guys, welcome back to the Rugby League Guru podcast where I've got an NRLW season preview for you here. And I've got former Dally M Coach of the Year, Jamie Soward. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you, Guru.
What year was that?
My first year is 2021, I think.
I was going to guess
It was a COVID
21.
year. So it was really 22.
22.
It was about 2 seasons in one, and then 23, and then resold in 24.
Resold. Happens to the best of us.
Oh, yeah. I'll argue I'm enjoying life a lot more.
I'm enjoying having you here more.
Yeah, I get a chance to hang out with you.
Yeah, it's
I
good
get
gear.
a chance to hang out with Kat.
Yeah,
Speaking of, now are you too sweet?
had some beef.
There's been a few Nagamas early.
Well,
I'm a little bit nervous.
I just, as a friend, offered some advice on how to kick to a corner, and she's got her back up and kicked out in the full.
I will take your advice on. I just had to process it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I needed a minute. I've had my minute. I get where you're coming from. I think I appreciate where your strategy comes from, but I have my own as well. So
Yeah, I also think that the game has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
From your time when you were playing rugby league football to Kat's time where she's in her prime of rugby league football.
Yeah.
I think the landscape has changed
Yeah.
there. So I don't think you played with six agains.
Yeah.
Kat's
Yeah.
playing with.
I
playing
think
six
I think
agains.
in Kat's
Rock
in Kat's
infringement.
game at the moment, there's a lot of she's not watching enough footy.
Okay.
She's not out there. She's not loving it. She wants the lifestyle. She's not loving it.
She's in love with the
though.
lifestyle, not the game.
Not the
Right.
game.
Oh, huge. Thoughts, Kat?
I think it's very easy to judge a book by its cover.
All right.
Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm
NRLW.
glad that everyone in this room enjoyed that conversation
Yeah.
because no one else have any idea what we're talking about. NRLW season. Myself and Kat, we went over to the NRLW season launch this morning over there at NRL HQ at Moore Park. Sensational event, Kat. Talk to me about the experience.
Absolutely love it. I mean, we walk in and immediately there's this great buzz. Everyone's super excited about the season starting. There were the captains from each side, or most of the captains from each side. Got to have a chat to some of them. So probably seen some of that content already. If not, it's coming. But just great to see the enthusiasm from the girls. I think a lot of them, like your Ali Brigginshaws, for example, has been in the game for so long. She's seen those changes and just the way that she talks about what preseason was like and the energy amongst the team and the morale. I think it's very exciting. 2 new teams, loads of debutantes. It got me really, really hyped for Thursday.
Ali Briggingoat, where do you think she sits in the game as far as all-timers?
I think she's, arguably the greatest that we've seen in terms of what she's been able to achieve. Premierships, played for Australia, played for Queensland. I've got a lot of time for Ali and her football knowledge and the way that she goes about things. I think the Origin probably this year, maybe raised a few questions with all due respect to her, but she's such a great competitor.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait to watch her bounce back this year in terms of where she plays, how Scott Prince uses her, how she goes about her leadership style. She gets her Ferrari back in Tamika Upton. So that's the narrative for Ali. And I think she would tell you, be the first to tell you, she might have told you today that she didn't have her best Origin series, but the challenge to be able to bounce back and prove that she's still one of the elite halves in the game and the World Cup next year, she's going to have to play well.
I love when you see a true competitor. It's just a little bit down. Got something to prove. Scary prospect.
It's a great narrative for her.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if she didn't already have motivation, Broncos dive into it, but they've underachieved the last couple of years. She has to be at the front of that this year. So the story's there where there's probably more pressure on her internally from herself than outside in.
Yeah, for sure. We've got 12 teams this year, 2 new sides coming in. I think Canterbury has arrived at the perfect time. The Bulldogs doing so many good things. We spoke to Taylor Preston today and she spoke on stage about how, the Bulldogs men at the moment, they have an aura about them and they're looking to sort of put the same thing together. I'm so excited to see how Canterbury fans get around an NRLW side. It's going to be unreal.
Yeah, and they've got a very strong fan base on the men's side, and I hope that carries over to the female side as well.
Yeah.
They've recruited really, really well. I think you look at teams that come in with an expansion, it's really, really hard to get players off contract at the right time and to spread that sort of wealth of talent. And both the Warriors and Canterbury have recruited really, really well in terms of some of their junior base. Alexis Tawane, Angelina Takarangi Katoa. Those girls, for me, yeah, I know what they're like. To be able to get them to the Bulldogs, I was devastated when I lost them at the time of the Dragons. But they're good players and they're good people too.
Yeah, we mentioned obviously big fan bases with Canterbury. The Wars coming in, very very exciting.
They're sold out round 2.
I was going to say, I would have loved to have seen them just open round 1 there.
Yeah, I
Would have
know.
been unreal, but can't win them all. They're sold out for round 2.
Well, when I'm CEO and you're my assistant of NRLW,
when I'm your assistant as CEO,
yes, well, you can't always be the boss, mate. But when I'm
Well, I
CEO,
don't
we'll
know.
have
We'll see
ideas
that.
like that.
What am I doing?
There's only room for 2.
Oh,
Don't know if I can put up with you coming into my office all the time. You'll be there, Kat. Of course you will. No, when I am CEO, we'll have ideas like that because you're right. It would have been nice for the Warriors to start the season this year and have something like that and grow the game over in New Zealand as well as in Australia here because it's such a huge market and it's an important market that they need to get right over there.
yeah, for sure. Man, dude, talking about the event today, standout players, things that you took away from it.
I mean, I fangirled a lot over Taylor Preston. I've met her before when she was with the Sharks. She was part of one of the lineups that we had access to when we did some interviews. And she was the one player that every team member brought up when we said, who's the joker in the team? Like, who do you want to have around? Who brings the culture? It was Taylor Preston. So I had no... When I found out that she was co-captain for the Bulldogs, I thought that is a no-brainer. She's obviously a skilled football player, but the way that she goes about culture, the way that she deals with people, she's just great to talk to immediately, so warm. And I thought she really emulates what we think of Bulldogs and their culture. And I think she's just like the perfect person to come in and play that role. And I really like to see how excited she was. It's palpable, her excitement. And I think Tekka, they complement each other because they're very different personalities. But I think Tekka will speak to the girls in another way that Preston has this very funny attitude and can probably really appeal to the younger girls as well in that sense.
Yeah, the little I've had to do with Taylor, she's an impressive young woman.
Yeah, so I promoted Tekka last year to the leadership group.
Yep.
And different style leader. Yeah, so you can see why they went co-captains.
Yep.
She's more a doer. But Drive Standards got extremely fit last year and will be one of the premier front rowers in the game for a long time. I tried to heavily recruit Taylor Preston to the Dragons and she turned us down. It was a long conversation.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth, but her kicking game, her ability to understand the game is what helped the Sharks last year. And I think off the back of what they've recruited with the forward pack, she's going to be instrumental if they can get it right and hold possession. Yeah, that's a big thing in NRLW at the moment is key to possession and where you turn the ball over. And if you can do that, you're going to be in games.
Why is that so important in the game?
Well, right now, the average set for the males, I think it's like 35 or 40 metres to run a set at a 6. It's because the wrestle's not there and sometimes the technique to tackle in the women's space, you're rolling 60 metres, sometimes 70 metres. So when you kick off, if they field it on the 20, they're up at halfway in 2 plays. And then, so it's all about where you turn over possession and your kicking game and all that kind of stuff. And if you think about early on in the season for men, we see a lot of that. We see a lot of kick to a corner, all that kind of stuff. And then the game sort of opens up about 5-6 weeks in. Can't do that with women. You know, you need to complete at a high click. You need to be play early. You know, I think in the women's space early on, especially, you know, for the sides that have those elite players at fullback or second receiver, the earlier you play, the more time you give them, and then you can run off the back of that, whereas men probably try and finesse their way around a little bit. I think the women's space right now is time in possession, kick to a corner, and ball running.
What did you take out of that under-19s game there? Obviously, I thought that in the men's game it was a little bit more free-flowing than some of the normal NRL games that we see. And you've obviously watched a lot more NRLW than what I have. But did you see any differences in that game compared to your normal week-to-week kind of games.
Yeah, well, what's slowly happening is you're trying to teach them some of the fundamentals of winning rugby league games in the women's space. And Courtney Crawford, who done an exceptional job as my assistant, and then last week in that CBA Bowl, she's got a footy head around completion, understanding style of play and all that kind of stuff. So you probably saw a little bit skill factor where they probably just need some development and time in the game. But you could also see that the fingerprints around some of those players that are going to play in NRLW and have been in those systems. We're going to talk about some of them soon, but like the Casey Rays, the way that she kicks to a corner and understands the game. Evie McGrath's been in that system at the West Tigers. Indy Bostock, like all those girls, Eva McEwen.
A lot of talk about Eva McEwen, by the way. She's come up a lot.
Yeah, the level that the game's getting to, it's a nice mix. Like there's not many older guys in the NRL that are like 35, 36, 37. In the female space, there's a lot of younger girls, and then there's a lot of middle-aged girls, and then there's a lot of older girls. Mm-hmm. So it's a nice mix of, and if you can get that right, the talent is going to be able to come through. But you don't have time. Like Dragons this year are young, and you're trying to teach them all in 7 weeks. You're trying to teach them the basics of the game, and then also, but when there's a moment, there's 3-on-2, go down the short side. That's what that next crop coming through is going to learn.
I caught up with Clint Newton at the start of the year on the way to Vegas, actually, and we'll talking about this, that I think the average age in the NRL is about 24, 25. The average age in the NRLW is like 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you have a look at all those rep sides, they're all filled with girls who are 26, 27 plus.
Yeah.
Some of them like in their 30s as well. So he sort of said, it's amazing how young the entire competition is when you have so many of the outlier of the older girls that do lift it up, and it's still only at 21 years of age, the average. It's crazy.
And a lot of them are athletes as well that have come from other sport. They've not loved rugby league their whole life and wanted to play, so they've transformed across into a space that's growing rapidly.
Are we, as you just said there, that a lot of the females that are playing this are athletes that have found rugby league. When do you think the time will come that we will have an NRLW game that is just all females that played since they were 5? Like, are we getting close to that point with the new crop that's coming? Not close.
Not yet. Like the Kezi Apps, the Holly Wheelers, the Ali Briggenshaws that played under 12s, and Millie Elliott's and all that. Like, some of them are coming into their prime, in terms of, or back into their career. But no, you're gonna. I think it's 10 years away before you see those.
Still
girls.
that far away.
Yeah, that have just
Isn't
played.
That exciting though?
It's very exciting because look at where the game is now.
Exactly. Yeah.
With athletes that have picked it up. And I've said this before. Like, if you want to learn to get ready for NRLW, and I tell my niece all the time, like, she's going to be a gun. She's like Emma Tonegado.
Yeah.
Or Emma Veron, beg your pardon. Fast, skillful, plays touch. You got to go play touch. Go count numbers, go get put in situations, spatial awareness of, and that's one thing the women's space can get now is like how to take the ball to the line, how far to take it to the line. Because in the women's space, you're not really taking it to the line all the way, and then you've got Reece Walsh out the back who can burn someone. Sometimes playing early and being able to catch pass out in front, and that skill will get you on the outside. So you can back that and teach that versus like running into a space or trying to create everything. So touch will teach you that spatial awareness.
I think it was Taylor Preston today. She mentioned that
she started playing
rugby league was 16
at 16, and didn't play NRLW until she was 20 or 2022. Yeah, so has a background in touch. But I mean, my background's in football. I knew Sheridan Gallagher as a football player playing in the A-League or A-League Women's before I knew her as a footy player. And I think it's so normal to see them playing so many different codes. And just to answer what you said about how soon till women are doing this full time and we see a cohort of women that grew up playing. Andrew Abdo in his speech today said that they had 50,000 registrations for grassroots women's footy last year, which is obviously an amazing sign of what's to come. But I think it's numbers like that are really important to what direction we're going. You need to see more of the registrations at that level to see if there's that capacity to then be able to fill an entire league with women that have grown up playing the sport.
Yeah, there's two parts to that. There's the registration on the younger side, and then there's being full-time.
Yeah.
Like, the girls want to be full-time now, but we need to understand the monetary side of it and the time and resources that goes in, because it's not just a salary cap. It's coaches' staff, it's performance, it's all that kind of stuff that goes into that. And you see how much the soft cap is in the NRL at the moment. In terms of registration, like, I think that's probably 5 years away to be able to go full-time in terms of the money there. In terms of the registration, this is what I said, like, they need their own CEO. They need their own pathway that is just all that person thinks about the whole time, to be able to go, we're doing registration, but we want more. Yeah, we're going to find a way to tap into the American market and bring one person, instead of having a combine every year, just have one international player that doesn't go on your books that you can bring in, that the NRL fund to be able to learn the game, to make the game stronger. One international. Bring them over, they're in your squad. They can train, and if they get a game, they get a game. If not, they've got the experience of living out here and playing in the NRL.
Yeah.
And that's 12 people a year. If you can get 4 of those that convert to NRLW contracts every single year, you've got ideas like that to be able to grow the game internationally. And then you might have your rookies. Like, I think the squad right now should be 30. You should have 6 development players, and development players should be able to play.
What is the squad at the moment?
I think it's 24 and 4 development.
Yeah, okay.
But 24 goes through really quickly. You got to pick 20 each week. You take 18. The 6 that don't play, there's no national reserve grade competition. So what level are they playing at? And I say that with all due respect to the pathways. And then you start to get scared because you don't want those girls to play.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because injuries happen a lot because their bodies are still adjusting to it. So there's a lot there that I just think Andrew Abdo and PVL could just get someone to run it, and just that's all they think about is, how do we go from 50,000 to 70? How do we go from 70 to 100? Yeah, how can we grow the Magic Round next year and have 60,000 at a core or Suncorp or wherever? You know what I mean?
We spoke there earlier about as well, like how, you said that in about 5 or 10 years' time, it'll sort of be girls that have come through the way. It sort of reminds me of when I look at UFC over the last 10 years that, when it first came across, it was, this guy's a kickboxer, this guy's a boxer. Very similar at the moment with the NRLW. When you look at what's happened with UFC now that you've got these guys training since they're kids to do everything, it's scary how far the NRLW could go.
Yeah, and the luxury of playing NRLW is you can play other sports.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of girls convert from rugby. And if I'm rugby, I'd be not trying to fight the NRLW on it. I'd just be saying, we'll release you for that, but you have to come back at the end of the year and play whatever. Because you're trying to fight. This is the best league in the world for women's sports. Like, this would be bigger than the WNBA. It's just the market over there in the WNBA and Instagram and all that make like it's bigger.
Yeah.
The NRLW will be the best women's professional sport in the world, which is crazy to think that we've only just scratched the surface.
I think
But it's how we take care of it.
Yeah. I think Abdo said today as well that there's going to be 33 double headers throughout this year, which is unreal, so fans can get out and watch.
Yeah, for 33 double headers, why not have triples?
Yeah.
But grow the game internally by spreading it, carnival atmosphere while you've got this short round. Because one day it's going to be 20 games a season, and it's going to be the fatigue of the middle period, which we experience with the men's. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. They've got to think about Origin. They've got to think about internationals. Like, they've got, as much as the NRL are invested in the NRL, they still want to grow the international game because they know how big it is on the Polynesian front and overseas as well. It's the same in women's space. There's just as many Polynesians and Aboriginals and that playing at the moment in the NRLW. So you can't just leave it on to run on the side and have double headers. Having single games where you open up the gates where it's Raiders v Eels down at Canberra, like, take it somewhere. Take it regionally.
Yeah.
Take it out to Wagga. Play out there. Play, like, they don't, grow the game by having people support it organically from the start instead of trying to just put it out there and just say, they're going to play at 11 o'clock on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And you're going to have 1,000 people there. Go and have 2,000 people at Wagga and have it on TV.
Maybe you should be the CEO. Maybe I
Yeah,
should be.
You know
the
what? I would
CEO.
do it. If they rang me, or I'd consult. I would seriously do it, and I'd get people like yourself, like Kat, from all different walks of life in terms that love rugby league, and I'd sit down and I'd go past. I'd get players that play now. I'd get past players, and I'd sit down and I'd say, how do we grow this game? How do we make it what you want to be? Don't think about going full time. Don't think about the monetary side of things. Think about, in 5 years' time, we want to have a game where it's a grand final or a semi-final and we've got 40,000 there. And we get to that stage. Yeah, think about all that kind of stuff, the exterior stuff, not the right now. Think about
Long term.
And our sole focus will be on driving that to the point where it's the best women's sport in the world.
So can I ask you, just in line with that, what do you think this expansion for this season means? Like, we've got 12 teams now. Obviously, lots of young debutants. We're going to talk about one of them in a minute that you have brought up many a time, and it's amazing to see that she is coming up in separate conversations now. But what does having the Waz, what does having the Bulldogs a part of this competition mean from your perspective?
Well, instantly you get two large fan bases, Roo. Kat, you get the Waz, that what they've done since COVID as a franchise to be able to get up and running now is really sensational. They essentially saved the game at some stage, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then you get the Bulldogs at the right time when the Bulldogs men are going good. And the fact that they've been able to recruit talent, it opens up obviously more games. It opens up more exposure in terms of market and fan, all that kind of stuff. But the one thing for me, it starts to, eventually you're going to have to spread the talent around. And with that, the salary cap will grow and all that kind of stuff. But you tap into two markets that have huge fan bases at the right time.
Yeah. Enormous. Now, we mentioned Ali Brigginshaw a little bit earlier, and she's got a little CBA for us to keep an eye on that I think you'll be very interested in. We're going to throw to Ali now to get her thoughts.
What about a young player from the Brisbane Broncos to watch this season?
Shalom. Absolutely unbelievable. She played our trial. Not many people would have seen that, and if they did, they'll know what to expect. But I just think a young talent. I'm excited to see her go through. She's played since a young age, so yeah, excited for her.
We've got Jamie Soward on the podcast, obviously, coach of Samoa, and I know that he rates her very highly. What is it with her that separates her from the rest?
I think it's just her no fear. She's come from playing through school, so to come and just fit in with the women, I guess, is probably the most shocking. Is we celebrated her 18th birthday and she absolutely annihilated some PNG girls the other week. So she's just got no fear.
Thoughts on those comments from Ali? I mean, you have said so many times that Shalom is one to watch, and then we were at the under-19s and I saw Shalom and I was really excited. I was like, we get to see Shalom play, and she came off the bench, immediate impact. She's just got aura. She walks around like she knows she's good, and I think it's so impressive. But what are your thoughts on what Ali said?
Very excited. I've already rang and spoke to her parents. I've spoke to Shalom about the potential of representing Fatu at the end of the year, and wished her good luck for the year. I think the one thing I noticed about her in the 19s, that's the first full game that I've seen her play, was a dedication to throw her body into contact. Yeah. A real just mindset of get out of my way, rumble and tumble. And, I'm in a good position this year because we've got a lot of forwards like that. But someone with her skill and the fact that our captain, Aneta Norsala, is at the Broncos and speaks highly of her as well. I think the ultimate... See, in the men's space, when you come in as a rookie, you're a rookie. They don't talk to you, or they used to not talk to you, right? In the women's space, it's different. Everyone's friends, they're welcoming. It's like that, and you can hear the excitement in Ali's voice when they talk about it. So for her to make that impression on Ali, but also Netta, like Netta rang me and said, hey, what are you doing about Shalom? I said, well, she's got a choice to make, and I don't envy that choice of dual heritage and stuff like that. But the excitement around this player in Shalom is, mate, it's unheard of. Like I got told by people in my coaching staff of Fatu that she's like Jessie Southwell in terms of her skill level.
Wow. If you were coaching Brisbane right now, if you were Scotty Prince, how would you utilise her position? Like,
I think she'll come off the
whole
bench.
thing?
I think she'll come off the bench and play that 13 role through the middle. She looks like she can play back row. Yeah, Scotty is obviously... He's got a lot of selection headaches up there. They've got a good side.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I think about him in a minute. But to me, how I would use her for Fatu is in that bench distributing role, because I think she can carry the ball, and she looks like she's got a spatial awareness of when to take the ball to the line and when to be able to pass.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be able to tap into that and have her thoughts and how she sees the game, because she's got a rugby union background. She's played school league, she's played six, she's played centre, she's played everywhere. So she's one of us, Roo. She just loves the game.
She came across like one of us when I saw her, just from the way, just how seriously she was taking herself in the lead up to it and everything. You could just tell she was zoned in.
But you can tell one of us. Like, you can tell those people that love it. Yeah, I've worked with people that are involved in footy, and it's like, yeah, why are you so sad? Like, we're coming last. I'm sad. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's one of us. They're easy to pick apart, and she seems like she's one of us.
Really stood out to me, you know, similar to what you said, how she was just willing to throw her body into everything in that 19s game. And to be honest with you, I thought New South Wales handled her very well, all things considered.
Courtney, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a conversation. Obviously, I was keeping an eye and wishing all the Fetu players good luck, but I just said to Courtney, you're going to have to get their body in front. And she said, yeah, she knew. She did her homework, and I thought that, that's why I believe Courtney Crawford will be a head coach of a women's franchise very, very soon.
Yeah.
She's one of us.
Yeah, I actually had her on the podcast last week. Very impressive.
Yeah. And she loves the game.
Yeah.
To the point where her poor old fiance, mate, he never sees her because she's either watching film or out at a game. So that's the stuff I miss, mate, from coaching is those relationships for the people that actually love the game.
Those people, yeah.
And I think that, and I say this respectfully, I think that the women's space needs more of loving the game and losing to hurt and all that kind of stuff, and have it, not a care factor because everyone cares, otherwise they wouldn't be there, but like the love. If you love it, then when it becomes full-time, it won't be a hard transition. Yeah. But if you like the lifestyle, when it comes full-time, you're training and pre-seasons are 3 months long, it's going to be a hard transition.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the teams heading into this season, mate. Which teams stand out for you?
I'll tell you where I go for all my footy on NRLW is watch her footy.
Yeah, she's very good at what she does.
She's very good. I had her in the sheds 2 years ago.
Yep.
She followed me around and...
Yeah, she speaks very highly of you.
Oh, jeez, it's a small queue. Who do you want to talk about first? Cowboys. Do you want to do the Cowboys first?
Yeah.
Sure. Cowboys predicted list. Jakaya Whitfield moving to fullback. I think that's one to watch. They had Blackwell there last year, but Jakaya did move up there to be fullback. I think if you look at their side, Kira Dibb is going to be the key there, but they've recruited really, really well. Abigail Roach, Jasmine Peters in the centre. So their back line is pretty good. The forward pack, they're still going to have to work to get into space to be able to do that. But Lily Peacock, Bree Chester, Mackenzie Wheel, I think this is a smoky this year. I think Ricky Williams has recruited very, very well. And if they can keep Kira Dibb on the field, they're going to be a chance in winning some games.
She's been a good player for a long time, hasn't she?
Underrated, misunderstood, I think, at times.
Yeah.
I know I was in the New South Wales setup. They weren't sure about some certain things about her. And, I said to her straight away, I said, I love your kicking game. She's a great person. I've had a little bit to do with her and met her a couple of times, but she understands the game better than most in terms of field position and kicking the footy and stuff like that. So she just needs a little bit of luck without injury.
Stay on the Queensland side, Zay. What about the Gold Coast Titans?
Yeah, big year for the Titans. I think they underachieved last year. How they get no Ivani Polite in their side. Jamie Chapman looks like she might go back to fullback. Speaking to Niall Williams-Guthrie about their side, there's a bit of a steal about they were disappointed from last year.
Yeah.
And they need to come out. They've got so much experience. One player to look at is Destiny Minno-Sinapati. She did an ACL last year. She's back. But they've got a good forward pack. Parisi, Elliston, Lofipo goes to the edge, Bent and Hale. That's one of the best back rows in the competition. If you look at Sienna, the way that she played in Origin, Shay Lee missed out. She was in the Origin team, but she missed out a little bit. Then you've got some experience off the bench. Pauline, Rassabali, Fogavini. They've got some real hard heads in their side. So it's just going to be whether they can get into position. Lauren Brown going to 7, I think, is a good move for them.
Yeah. I love them a couple of years ago. They had that real, junkyard dog sort of
That's what they need.
approach. Yeah.
That's what they need. They sort of got away from that a little bit last year.
Georgia Hale, she's the face of that, right?
Yeah, she's the face of. She'll make 45, 50 tackles. Yeah, but it's going to be Lauren Brown. I think she's been a hooker for a while now.
Yep.
And to move into the 7, she got halfback of the year, I think, last year or maybe the year before. And she was high up in there in the Dally M. So she's everything that they do that's going to be off her.
Talk to me about the Broncos.
Yeah, Broncos, well, you get Tamika Upton back. That's the big one for me. You have a look at last year, they've had Hayley Maddock there, Ali coming off the quiet series in Origin. They've recruited, they've got Tara McGrath-West, they've got internationals everywhere in that side, Julia Robinson, Shanae Sasolka, Netta Norsala. Yeah, they've got everyone. It's just going to be, I think last year when you played the Broncos, they could blow you off the park, but they also had that game where they just had errors and it just compounded and they weren't able to get the style that Princey wanted. So I've actually got them making my grand final this year. I think that they can, with Tamika and Ali, I think they'll be pissed off about Origin. I think they can make the grand final.
We mentioned earlier about Ali Brigginshaw and sort of her place in the game. Tamika, the record she's putting together, something pretty special.
And she's, what is she, 26?
28 years.
28, yeah. So she's got another 8 years,
Yeah.
potentially. I think the one thing about Tamika is when she went to Newcastle, they had some good players around her, but that grand final against the Titans, she was easily the best player on the field. She's such a competitor. If her body's fully fit, I don't think it was fully ready to go in Origin. It looked a little bit underdone. So if Princey's got her back up and firing, that combination with Brigginshaw, inside ball when defences get tired and fatigue sets in, that's going to be lethal and dangerous. So I'm expecting the Broncos to have a big season.
She's putting together, like her career so far is, I think she's won 4 comps in 6 years, 2 Karen Murphy medals, which is the equivalent of the Clive Churchill medal. 1 Dally M?
Yes.
Yeah, because Koenig got it last year. Well, 1 Dally M. It's, pretty damn impressive what she's putting together. Where do you want to move to next, mate? They are Queensland clubs.
Yeah, the Tigers. I think they, last year, they've got a young side, and I think there's some girls there that Brett Kamali would be hoping that they just get their consistency right a little bit, because they've been in games and they come out and they'd have flat periods there. So, a couple to speak about is Emily Bass, who's winger in Origin. She goes to the centres down there potentially. I think one of their strengths is going to be their forward pack. If you look at Togatuki, Berriman Duff at hooker, Pio up front with Apps and Montana Clifford, and then Fanoa at lock, that's going to be their strength. It's going to be whether they can get into position, kick themselves into position to be able to put the pressure on the other team. So I think they'll improve this year. But again, they've had a lot of change. They've got younger again. One player to keep an eye on is Jatea Faifua. I had her in the Samoan camp, and she moved to fullback. She's got skills. She can play 6. She can play 9. She's a tough little bugger. And she's moved down to the Tigers. But again, they're a younger side, so I don't know if the expectation will be there to make the top 4, but there's definitely going to be some improvement.
Just from meeting all the girls earlier today and whatnot, like when you talk about a young side, she's very lucky to have a leader like Kezzy Apps. Just she was impressive today, and like I didn't expect her to be small by any means, but big bit of gear. She's enormous. Yeah.
I was really disappointed when Kez left.
Yeah.
I understood. There was breakdown in communication about years and extensions and stuff. I think she's extended till 2029, so she's she's going to play well and late until the 30s. But great person, great leader. One that the girls really loved getting around, and you can see why she's going to be important to the Tigers.
Yeah. Talk to me about the Roosters, mate.
Well, they're my other grand finalists this year. They just have talent everywhere. I mean, Corbin Baxter's back, Frazard, Surges Kelly, Brodie Barker. That's an Origin back line. Jocelyn Kelleher, Aitken in the 7 role. I think that's going to be something that they'll take a little bit to get working, because Kelleher's probably a longer kicker. But Theron Aitken had the bad thing for the competition is all the Queensland players had really quiet Origin series.
Yep.
So they're all going to come out and tear up. But their forward pack, I mean, they've got the best back row in the world, and Olivia Koenig. Tavana Papali'i, she played 6 for me, Fetu.
Yep.
In that 13-role ball distributor. But if you have a look at their Atessa Pule, Rima Butler, Amber Hall, Keely Davis,
so many guns.
Yeah.
It was Isabel Kelly said to really watch Corbin Baxter this season.
Baxter
feels really good.
She missed a season last year with injury.
Yeah.
Aaliyah Nassio, I think, is in for a big year for them as well. Plus, they've got other girls off the bench. I mean, Tyra Ikapati played last week.
Yep.
Yeah, Tanisha Gray. There's so much talent on that side. Like, they are the favourites, and deservedly so.
You mentioned Taryn Aiken there coming off a, pretty quiet Origin series. I always say to Kat, she's the Cam Munster of
Yeah,
NRLW
you do say
for
that.
me.
Yeah.
And when Cam Munster's at his most dangerous is when he's been quiet. He's got something to prove. Big
I think
season
at
coming, I
times
think.
when you watch Taryn, you're exactly right. And probably when we watch Cam Munster at times is like you want him to get on the other side of the field a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's when I watch Taryn, I'm like, okay, so she sits herself on the left. When she comes around to the right and she's on ball, John Strange is a great coach. He's probably the best coach in that game at the moment. But that's probably why he's put her in the 7. Like,
Yep.
he wants her to be on ball more, because in Origin she was sort of waiting all the time to get the ball, and then never really happened.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
have her on the ball. I think sometimes you want Munster to just go and get it.
Yep.
Not when Hughes is there, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yes,
get over
yeah,
to that
yeah.
other side. So, but yeah, she's very good to watch.
Talk to me about the former side that you coached, the Dragons.
Yeah, I'm trying to get their team list up, actually. Look, they've got a lot of young juniors there. They've recruited some older heads. I think having Ray and Zali in the halves, we tried that way last year to start. So I'll be interested to see how that dynamic has evolved under Nathan Ross. They've got some extremely good young talent coming through. Casey Ray, Indy Bostock, Trinity Taunier. If they can control the ball and listen to what Nathan's sort of trying to teach them, they could be in for a big year, because they've certainly got the talent there. Tegan Berry, the older that she gets, the thing with Flash is, I loved coaching Flash, and sometimes you have to have those hard conversations that there's two sides to the ball.
Yep.
She's a little bit like Scott Drinkwater. She's going to have those games where it's just untouchable and the ball's going to come to her and stuff like that. But one thing that a lot of the girls are working out, not just Tegan, is that the ball doesn't always bounce to you. Sometimes you got to make it bounce for you, and sometimes you're not going to have the freedom. You're going to have to just tackle and make plays and turn up and do all that nitty gritty stuff, and then the ball bounces to you. And there's two sides to that. So, hopefully she has a big year for the Dragons. I'm still close friends with them. I think having Bobby Law back and fit is certainly a big in for them. I think they'll go good.
Yeah, beautiful. What about the Parramatta Eels?
Parramatta Eels, they're really going to miss Kennedy Charrington for the first start of the year. They competed hard last year. Abby Church is elite in her position. I felt Rachel Pearson last year had a good year. Elsie Albert is dynamic, but they're still a very, very young side. And this year, no Kennedy early. They may find to not have that security blanket, and that guy that's a leader, that girl that's a leader and takes it to the opposition pack. So there's a lot of good players there. One to keep an eye on is Chelsea Makira. She's played in that system. Beg your pardon, Tasha Gale come in, played 6, played 9, so I think she could get herself into the side.
Yep.
And the other one is Cassie Tohuhiku, one of my favourite players. She's so dangerous with the ball. She is like Cameron Munster.
Yeah.
She'll run around, she'll just come up with plays, she'll play footy. So, but it might be a tough year.
So Kennedy's tipped to miss the first 3 to 4 weeks, which might not sound crazy, but in an 11-week season, it's a pretty good whack.
30% of your season.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah, it's a good hit there. What about the Sharkies, mate?
Yeah, big watch on the Sharkies. Experienced squad. I'm just trying to get their squad up here.
It was interesting today. We heard from Tiana Penatani. She was one of the captains that spoke at the launch. And it's something that if you watch any NRLW, you know that the Sharks are always a top 4 contender. They're always a threat at the top there. But it was really cool to hear from Tiana herself just saying that it's so ingrained in their DNA as a Shark side that if they don't make the top 4, like it's an unsuccessful season for them. Like that's where the bar is set for them. I'm really looking forward to seeing them without Taylor Preston. I think that Bulldog-Sharks clash is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely keen to get your thoughts on that Shark side.
Yeah, thanks, Kat. I was just getting up the squad there, so you've done an excellent job in letting me get that up. This is a side that should be up with the top teams. They lose Taylor Preston, but they get they get my old 5'8", Tyler King. She goes into that, so it probably might be her and potentially Emma Veron in that role. But you've got other players there, like their back row. Mate, they're so big. Anessa Biddle, I know she plays in the centres, but her, Brooke Anderson, Cassie Staples, they've got Ellie Johnson, they've got absolute stars everywhere. Georgia Hanaway were probably in that, in one of those half positions as well, plus they signed Jacinta Carter. So yeah, this is a side that can make the top four and challenge those, and because they've got experience in the right positions. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that. Plus, I think they've got one of the best hookers in the game. I'm a huge Quincy Dodd fan. When she gets out and controls the ruck, I think she's probably the best hooker in the game at doing that. So
Sowie, Quincy taught me to kick.
she taught you to kick.
She taught me
She's
to
a
kick.
cool chick, Quincy. I like her.
Yeah. Again, I coached all those girls. When they left, I was pretty shattered, but I understood why. She's a Cronulla girl, but like her and Tale Holmes, like they're all best friends, and Rhianna Bryce is the other one. They've got a really good side, and I think the heartache of last year was they probably at times when they made it, I don't think they realised how good they were.
Yeah, okay.
So now it's like, okay, we're good, and you throw Penatani in there as well, and she's like elite at her position. So it's going to be interesting to see how the coach Tony Herman sorts out the spine.
Now, for those that might not have been paying as close attention, one name you mentioned there was Emma Veron, who obviously is previously Emma Tonagato.
Yes.
Very, very talented.
Very talented, elite ball skills. The way that she can get into spaces and create on the outside, important. I'll be interested to see whether Hermo has her at fullback or not, and or Jada Taylor.
I was about to ask you, what do you think her best position is?
I like her at fullback. I like her at fullback because she can run the ball. She doesn't have to think.
Yeah.
But as she's gotten older, I wanted to put her into the 6 role and have her controlling 7. That can work with Taylor Preston, but she's not there anymore. So you're going to have to put Tyler King or Hanaway in there.
And Jada Taylor would then be your fullback?
If Emma Veron's in the 5'8" role, otherwise Jada might have to just bide her time. She's had a year off. Like I said, you have to win straight away.
Yeah.
If you start 0-2, 0-3
Well, this
with
is-
12 teams.
Yeah. Well, we talk about this all the time. Urgency in competitions. This is the beauty of the NRLW. There's no lull period.
No.
It's like the NFL. If you lose 3 games, you're in trouble.
And it's top 4.
Yeah.
So it's not top 8 where you can be mediocre or top 6. That would be one of my first changes. I'd make it top 5.
Top 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Winning the minor premiership needs to mean something.
Yeah, so you get minor premiership, gets week 1
Well,
off.
top 4, like your 1v4. That's
Yeah.
the last 5 years. It's been a luck of the draw. Like Parramatta beat Brisbane a couple of years ago. There's no reward for consistency throughout the year.
At what point do you extend out of a top, like you just suggested a top 5 there? Like, do you go to a top 6 if you add in 2 more teams?
Yes.
Or,
If you go to 14, you go to top 6.
Top 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
First 2 get the week off. Yeah.
It's actually something I want to talk to you about on our show this week about the NRL with new teams coming in.
Yeah.
Do we go beyond the top 8? Do we have like wild card rounds? I think it's something that people haven't spoken about enough with new teams coming in.
Michael Chamis, is he here somewhere? He's loving that chat.
He's under the desk.
Yeah, where he should be.
Shout out to Chamis. Oh, yeah. I spoke to him this morning. I'll have to tell you about that after the show. Hilarious.
They
Good
had a
man.
very funny interaction.
Mate, talk to me about the Newcastle Knights. Very interesting. Obviously, being one of the strongest sides in the comp over the last couple of years. Some big, big losses for that squad. Talk to me.
Hannah Southwell, Tamika Upton have departed, and it's a new look lineup for Ben Jeffries. Olivia Higgins becomes one of their most experienced. Jessie Southwell, elite. We saw her during Origin. Probably an important pickup is Bovetti Welsh.
Yes.
Going up there from the West Tigers on a long-term deal as well. They've got Lillian White. They've got young talent there. As we said, Eva McEwen, Georgia Roach. I think it's going to come down to whether they can. I mean, last year when we played them, they just were error-riddled, and you felt like you could get them. And then they got into a semi-final, and then it was like they're sort of there, you know what I mean? But I think Ben Jeffries this year will have to adapt his coaching style a little bit and pull back on. One thing I'd do if I got another crack is pull back on the intensity at sometimes.
Yep.
I reckon there's a lot of us in the space at the moment that are trying to teach really fast and assuming the knowledge. He's going to have to change his style this year and try and get the most out of that young squad.
I'm sure you'll share a very similar thought to me. I love watching Southwell play.
Oh, She's one of us, mate.
She's a proper nuffy like us.
Her kicking game was so underestimated or understated or talked about in Origin. I mean, kicking early, grubbers in behind, her control. Yeah, it's part of the reason why she's got such big raps on her. I think the one thing that I'd love to see from Jessie is, we're going to get how good she is this year.
Yeah.
Not having Tamika, not having other people around her. And it's not a challenge to her. It's just we're going to see if she can handle the next step, because great halfbacks go into that next level, and when they lose players, you look at Cleary, you look at Katoa, they find a way to still run the system.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the challenge for her.
I love when you hear Joey talk about players, and you hear Joey talk, about first graders. He respects them all, gives them all what they deserve, but there's certain players he talks about that Joey senses something more to you.
Greatness.
Southwell might be the number one. I reckon when you hear Joey talk about players, it's probably Cleary, and then I reckon Southwell as far as who he gets the most excited about.
Oh, he's in the Cartel boat.
He's in the Cartel boat. Mate, every time I hear him talk about Southwell, it's huge, mate.
Yeah, and I think she's going to relish being the head of the Snake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's her 5th year. She's won 2 comps. Like, it's ridiculous. But she looked like she loved being in charge of that New South Wales.
She doesn't look like someone that would hide away from being head of the Snake to me.
She looked like
embrace it.
Yeah, she looked like she'd embrace it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Her sister leaving is going to be a big loss.
It is. I don't know what happened there. I think that I don't know what happened. Yeah. It's going to be a lost play.
Has she gone to the Dragon, sorry?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. We didn't really touch on her when we're talking about the Dragons. That's a pretty big signing, isn't it?
Yeah, big signing for right now, for the Dragons to be able to get Hannah Southwell. I think they got her. They got Nita Maynard from Newcastle. So
yes,
they're able to get a couple across. But, I don't know. I mean, she was locked in a long-term contract with Newcastle, so I don't know what's happened there. But to lose a lot of leadership, it kind of reminds me of the Roosters. Like, they were successful, with men's, then they lose a lot of leaders within that group. So we're going to have to see the next crop come up.
Yeah, how they respond. Yeah. New Zealand Warriors coming back into the comp.
Warriors, their second round sold out, which is great. I think that's against the Parramatta Eels. They got a lot of converts over from the Sevens program or rugby program over there. And, for me, Appy Nichols, what she did over here in Australia, to get her over there, she's the captain. It's so important to have good leaders in your group. When you're a new group, when you're a young group. They've got some older heads there, Harada Butler. You look at Michaela Eli, I've had her in the Fetu program. She's a bit of a hybrid back rower / 5'8". They get Maya Hilmawana, and then the big one are going to be Taisha Ikinasio, who's come over from the Sevens program, I beg your pardon, from the rugby program. And I think they got Michaela Blade, beg your pardon. I'm just trying to find it here.
Tell you what, the Warriors, obviously for a new franchise coming in, couldn't get much harder than Roosters.
Straight away.
Game
over
one,
here too.
away. It's tough going.
Yeah, I think they got, sorry, Kat, I can't find her. Is it Michaela Blade?
Let me look it up for you.
The Warriors squad, they've got Michaela Brake here, but that's not it, that's for sure. Anyway, Kat will fix us up. She's a star coming out of the Sevens.
Yeah.
Getting into rugby league and speed to burn. She'll be on one wing for sure.
When you've got a 7-star like her, for example, is it a no-brainer to come to the NRLW?
Yes.
Like, is that where it's at? Yeah.
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 Sevens is great travel-wise. Talking to Tyler about it, it's travel. Yeah, but the training regime, the money's not that great in the Sevens program. All year round, you're on the road, where you can play, 3 months here in the NRLW, travel, get everything looked after, living away from home, and get a good salary as well.
Just going to jump in here. Michaela Eli, second row.
No,
Warriors.
Michaela, I think it's, I know Michaela Eli. I think it's Michaela Blide. I was just trying to search her. Who are you going to talk about next?
Well, mate, I suppose going from the Warriors, one of the new franchises, the other new franchise, the Canterbury Bulldogs, we've spoken about Taylor Preston already quite a bit.
Yeah.
How do you see Canterbury going?
Yeah, I think they're going to be really hard to beat in terms of grittiness and getting down. Holly Wheeler, the experience there, Tiakaranga Katoa, Tawania. For me, they're going to be the top 4: Sharks, Dogs, Roosters, Broncos. I think that can be the top 4.
Be a huge knock for the Canterbury Bulldogs to be in the top 4 straight away.
Yeah, I know. They've got Andy Robinson, who I've had at fullback before, Ash Quinlan and Taylor Preston, so they're elite in the halves. Ebony Pryor is one of the most underrated dummy halves in the competition. And then you've got some young players there, Tegan Dimick, Tawania, Smythe. And then, they will probably struggle a little bit if they get some injuries because the next crop are still young coming from their Tasha Gale. But if they can all stay fit, that 1 to 13, and keep those good, they could definitely give it a shake.
Hey, forgive me for not knowing this, but the hooker for the New South Wales under-19s the other night, just get up her name. I thought she was really good in that game. What's her name? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Forgive me, this is some quality podcasting.
Tori Shipton?
Shipton, that was it.
Yeah.
Where's she?
She's Illawarra, so she played rugby. She's
Yeah.
Illawarra Steelers, yep. So she comes out, fantastic ball runner. She's like Tom Starling.
Yeah, okay.
Gets out of dummy half.
I thought she was really good the other night.
Gets out of dummy half really, really quickly. Good defender. Just work on the passing a little bit more would be my advice. I think there's a recognition of when to go and when to pass. I think sometimes she can probably go a little bit early, but I'm surprised she wasn't picked up actually.
Yeah, so where's the girl like her right now? She's not in the top.
Well, she'd be
28 or
probably
whatever?
she'd be playing Harvey Norman for the Steelers.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, she looked like she was a class above the others to me.
She is very classy.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Canberra Raiders, our last side.
Yeah, Canberra Raiders, experienced side. I think that they're going to be very hard to beat going down to that. Going down to Canberra. Samai Mataufa leads that. What Bortho has been able to do is create a squad that believes in himself, that doesn't beat themselves.
Yep.
They get Amelia Paseka back this year. Pasicala, beg your pardon. They've got Grace Camp. They've got Holly Mae Dodd, who's an international from England. They've got Jordan Preston, who came out of the Dragon system.
Yep.
Plus Mackenzie Wiki, Madison Bartlett. Like they've just got, and the advantage they have is it's bloody cold down there. So if you go down to Canberra, you know what you said about Perth, like you want to get on the plane or get on the bus, and when you go down to Canberra, you'll come back.
It's bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just love playing down there, and they, I think, off the back of what Samaima has been asked to do, they got Leanne Tufanga. They've got some really good players there, so I'm looking forward to watching them. One to watch out for me is going to be Robbins Reddy. I think she's moving to fullback this year, so it's going to be interesting to see how she goes.
Okay. Give me a breakout player for the NRLW this year.
I know the Dragons inside out, so I could probably give you one of those, but do you want me to just say who's going to win the Dally M and who's going to be a breakout player, or what?
Yeah, mate, whatever. Mate, the more information we can get out of that melon, the more I'm keen to hear. Talk to me.
I'm a huge Casey Ray fan.
Yeah.
I think if you look at what she's been able to do, I'll be interested to see how the Dragons go with Bobby Law, like Bronte Wilson up prop. But my player to watch is going to be Shalom.
Yeah.
She's going to be, I think Tamika Upton will win the Dally M or Isabel Kelly, and I think Shalom will be the Rookie of the Year.
Jeez, Brisbane do not need another one, do they?
No. I was trying to get their squads up. I mean, it's not great when we're scrolling and trying to find everyone, but they play the West Tigers first. I know the one thing about Princey is he puts a lot of emphasis on the spine owning the result. But when you look at Brianna Clark, Chelsea Lenarduzzi, Destiny Brill, Gail Broughton, I didn't even mention her. She's an international herself. Lavinia Gould, like they've got Mele Hefanga. It's a showdown of internationals, Brisbane v Roosters. That will be the must-watch game of the year.
Is that your grand final?
Yes.
Who wins it?
Brisbane.
Yeah. The more I look at that Brisbane side, there's just too much talent there, isn't there?
Well, I mean, there's girls that are learning still that are going to be learning from the best.
Yeah.
Which is a huge advantage in a 10-week season.
Give me a hot take for this season. I was actually going to say Bulldogs make the top 4. I thought that'd be a little bit spicier than what it sounds, but I'm actually glad to hear that you think that they will be there.
Hot take for this year. I think that this year will break the record for attendance and viewership by a long, long way in terms of we won't realise how popular it is until this year.
Till it's there, yeah.
Until the end of the year, like when you talk about registrations and all that kind of stuff, like with the Warriors coming in, the fact that they've got a sellout for game 2, yeah. I know the boys play after it, but it just seems, it should be the norm. Like it should be, this is some of the stuff I'll do as CEO. It's like pairing it up for the right match, like imagine the experience the Bulldogs would get if they played in front of the boys, and there's 50,000 there.
You've got to get that buy-in from the fans as well, right?
But you've got to give them a chance.
An opportunity, exactly. And sometimes it's not as simple as saying you can purchase tickets. You actually have to present the game in front of people and let them feel invested. There's a lot of buy-in from Bulldogs fans. We know that. You look at Winston Neville and, famous for being a Bulldogs fan. Of course, he's commenting on all of the women's stuff and he's all around it, but he's not the rule, he's the exception. And I think doing the double headers and being able to create an environment where it's easy to be a fan, it's easy to be a spectator, is how you grow that fan base. Like it's a no-brainer.
Their first game is this week. They play Newcastle Knights at 5:40 on Friday, and the men play the Broncos afterwards. There's nothing wrong with that. I know the females want to stand on their own space, but Bulldogs fans turn up. Although I don't know why they didn't turn up last week to the men's. We'll save that for Wednesday.
Save for Wednesday.
Save it.
Don't get lost.
Do you want my tips for this week?
For the women's game?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kane,
I'm keen.
Anything else? Okay, sweet. Let's rip into that. So, first game Thursday night, we've got the Sharkies and the Parramatta Eels.
Sharks for me. Just think they'll have too much experience and be set. Interested to see what the Spine's shake-up is going forward.
Yeah, I think the Sharkies will win that one reasonably well. Kathmandu?
I'm also going to say Sharkies, of course. Got to.
Bulldogs, Newcastle Knights. That one's Friday, 5:40 p.m. What do you got there?
Bulldogs, I just think they'll be too up for it. It's just going to be their first game, history. They'll run out there. The colours will be flying. The flags will be there. I reckon the Bulldogs fans will get behind it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Canterbury will get them as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's so much hype around them right now. And to echo Taylor's words, they have aura, and I think that's going to trickle into the women's team this week.
12:45 on Saturday, the Broncos and the Tigers. I don't know if I can go past the Broncos in this game.
Yeah, Broncos for me.
Broncos. Got an upset for us, Kathmandu?
Not this week.
3:15, Raiders taking on the St George Illawarra Dragons. I'm going to take the Dragons for an upset here.
At home, I just waxed lyrical about the Raiders, although it hurts me to tip against a lot of the females I brought to the club. I'm going to say Golden Point.
Ooh. Huge call. You love a Golden Point call.
I do. It's going to come off one of these days.
One of these days it will. And you'll all be hearing about it. Don't worry about that.
Oh, mate, I don't have to. We've got a media team that does that, mate.
You've got a media team. Talk to me, Kat. What do you got?
I think Raiders will win comfortably. Okay. I'm sorry.
You have to say sorry to me. Please. I work for the government now. I cheer for them.
All right. Cowboys and Titans. That one's at 5:15 p.m. on Saturday. I'm going to take the Titans in this one.
I will take the Cowboys in an upset, I think, at home. They're hard to beat up there, but I'm expecting if there's a team that can knock the Dogs or Sharks out of that top 4, it's going to be the Titans.
Yeah, I was thinking Cowboys for this one also.
They've married up a lot of the games to the men's, to be fair, this week.
Right,
Storm
okay.
play after that, so
yeah.
that's great.
Very good.
Last game of the week, Sunday, 11:50 p.m. Roosters, Warriors. Can we see it? Can we see an upsetting game 1? I would love to see it. This Roosters side's pretty stacked, though.
They're stacked, and John Strange ain't letting that happen at home. Sorry, Warriors.
I'd love to see it, but yeah, hard to go past the Chooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go Chooks. I'll say Warriors round 2. They'll get a win.
The Eels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mandu. People that want to watch this weekend, how do they go about it?
Well, We mentioned there are a lot of creators you can get around. I just want to emphasize again, watch her footy. Amazing for keeping up with all the NRLW signings, what you need to know, all that good stuff. And obviously Marley Silver is also an amazing voice in the women's game. She does a podcast every week that summarises what's going on. So definitely give Marley a follow. But in terms of watching the games, you can watch Fox, Kayo 9 and 9 Now. That's where you need to be to keep up with all of the women's action.
Unreal, mate. Thanks for joining us. Been a pleasure having you in. Always
times
tends
this
to be.
week.
Twice a week. I don't think it'd become a regular thing. I don't think it's healthy for you all,
Our
mate.
missus would be worried about us.
No, my missus won't get careless. But yeah, probably not good for Kat's health too, having to do with us too much.
We just have it once.
I'm glad we smoothed it over from the start of the episode. That was pretty tough going. So guys, make sure you get around, support the NRLW this season, get out to games and whatnot. We'll have a bit of social content throughout the year for you to get around there and enjoy the NRLW season kicking off this weekend.